Okay, so I started my war room once again, and I can already tell the difference. A war room for me is just putting my prayers up on a wall and getting off into a enclosed space. So I cleaned out my closet, and then I just started putting my prayers down on the paper. And then this is where things really started to change for me before. And I thought about how it isn't going to matter and it's not going to make a difference. But it really does. I can tell the difference in my prayer life. I can tell the difference in my spirit. So this last week has been hard. I'm tired of saying that. I'm tired of saying that it's hard. But Evelyn's been having flashbacks. I had to go pick her up from school, and then she was struggling, swirling the drain. And then that always just takes me back because I can't fix her. I can't help her. I could just be there for her. So it's like I hurt when she hurts. And I so much want to get past this part, but I am unable to. And it sounds like trial's going to be moved back. And so we're going to be in a state of waiting. And that's really what I wanted to talk about. I kind of want to be lazy. I kind of want things to come to me and for me not to have to do anything but just ask for it. Like in the movie WALL-E, where all those people do absolutely nothing. But what I'm seeing in Hebrews is, especially Hebrews 11, is that they had to do work, not work to achieve favor with God. That's not what it is, but he has work for them to do. When I go to work, if I sit down and I do nothing, nothing gets done. It's not like it all depends on me, but I have a job to do. And so God gives us promises, but he doesn't just hand them to us. We have to do things. And it's not the way that I've always thought it. Like, you'll never get that because you didn't do enough. That's not what these verbs are that I saw. And my grammar nerd, word nerd part of me sees so much here. An abstract noun is a noun that you can't see, you can't touch. It's like an idea. A concrete noun is something you can see, you can touch, you can feel, like a pencil. Pencil's concrete. Love is abstract. You can't see it, you can't feel it. So the love of a parent, you can't see the love, you can see the effects of it. And so today what I was looking at in Hebrews, like Hebrews 11:30 is talking about people of faith, and then it talks about the Israelites passed through the Red Sea as by dry land while the Egyptians drowned. And I was like, that's really, really cool. The same land was dry and able to be moved over that drowned the next people. Well, what was the difference? Faith. And then it says the walls of Jericho fell after they were compassed about for 7 days. So what happened with the walls of Jericho? They had to be walked on for 7 days, and then a shout, a cry. Rahab received the spies with peace. So she had to do something. She had to receive them. And then it mentions Gideon, Barak, Samson, Jephthah, David, Samuel, and the prophets. They are all people who we can look to. None of those people sat back and got fat and lazy and told people to come and bring them stuff, or God, come give me what I need. They were active in their faith, and I think that's what I'm being pressed about today. And because it says, who through faith subdued kingdoms, who wrought righteousness, obtained promises, stopped the mouths of lions. This is 11:33. And then 11:34, quenched the violence of fire, escaped the edge of the sword. Out of weakness were made strong, waxed valiant in the fight, and turned to flight the armies of aliens. And then in 35, women received their dead raised to life. Okay, so all of these things, the English teacher in me sees that these are all active things. These are active verbs. You don't just get things coming to you. You have to do these things. So word nerd part looked up what these things are. King James is so fun. I love looking at it. But sometimes I don't know what it means. So rot means to work, to labor, to do work. And it even says the opposite of idleness and inactivity. Righteousness isn't something that you are, it's something that you do. Not to be it doesn't equal your salvation. It's something that you're constantly doing. And Christianity should be a verb. And so if we're working righteousness, if we're laboring for righteousness, and we're doing the work of righteousness, we are constantly trying to do those things in our life, not because we are great or trying to earn salvation. That's not it at all. And so these are not state of being verbs. They are action verbs, things you do, striving towards, constantly trying to obtain or achieve, not a set of works to become righteous. That's not the point. The points are to actively do these things in order to wrought righteousness, subdue kingdoms. So when we act with God inside of us, we become a stronger unit. The more you work a muscle, the stronger it becomes, the more used to it, and the more it has that muscle memory. And that's the same thing that happens here, is when we actively work with God, we can do this righteousness, and then we can subdue kingdoms, bring under control by force. Drawn from below is the other one. Subdue. So we can overcome kingdoms. One person can overcome kingdoms. Can I overcome kingdoms? No. But God working in me. It has to be an action. It's not that God's just going to do it for me. He's going to do it through me. But I have a very, very active part in this. And when I start getting lazy and feeling sorry for myself and just sit around and be lazy and don't do anything, then nothing gets done. But God's not saying that's bad. He's just like, if you want these promises, then here's your part in this. Because we're a partnership, we're friends. Okay? It says that we also obtained promises to come into possession, to get, to acquire. So he's going to give you those promises, but you have to obtain them. You have to get them. You have to be part of the miracle cycle. It also says to come into possession of, to get, to acquire, to procure, as through effort, to touch, to reach. All of those things are required in order to get these promises. So it's an active faith. So faith, I was trying to say it was an active verb, but I can't do that because grammatically that's not correct. But it is very active. It is not passive. It's not something where, I think people think that, well, and I do sometimes too, faith is just what you get. But that's not what God's saying. Through your faith, you get to do so many cool things. It has to do with your mindset and why you're doing things and what you're doing. But we have so much power, and it's just so fun. You must do your part because your faith must be in action. It's the opposite of idleness and inactivity. So God's not sitting there spoiling us and letting us get fat and lazy. And I think sometimes me, get it wrong. Give it to me, God. Give it to me. Well, you got to do your part. My daughter is getting a Switch for Christmas. But yes, I'm buying it for her for Christmas, but she earned it. She had to get straight A's, and then she had to even do more work than that just to be able to get it. So yes, I'm going to give it to her, but what did she do also? I'm not asking for money back. I'm not asking for repayment, but she had to show that she was going to appreciate it too. And then she's going to treasure it so much more as well. And not because we do anything, but because he lives inside of us and does all things. We are not to sit idly by and wait for God to perform miracles. We are to gladly do his work to know him better. So when we work with him and he works through us, that's work. It isn't sitting there waiting for God to just come through. We have a job to do while we're waiting for his promises. He promises he will do it. But what are we doing in the meantime? Rotting out righteousness, working out righteousness. How is that? Well, we're loving. We're being pure. We're being kind. We are showing love to people. We are, I wrote it down, but of course I can't find it anymore. But I believe it's an action verb. It's what we do while we're waiting. So we are showing love, we're giving kindness, we're being patient, we are sharing God's love with other people. We're constantly in action. We're not sitting there watching TV, playing on Facebook games, waiting for God to come through. What are we doing while we're waiting for his promises? Because when we do our part and we work together with God, all sorts of things can happen because he lives in us. He's the maker of heaven and earth, all things seen and unseen. He spoke the world into existence. And he's like, all of those things can happen to you. But you are my conduit. Isn't that cool? So faith is an action. Faith is a verb. Faith is something we do not to earn his favor, but it's a series of how we live and what we do, not what we believe. Believe is an abstract, something that you can't see, your beliefs and stuff. But this is something that we become. No, that we do. That we are. No. That we enact in our lives. We need to be careful not to make them passive verbs, things that just am, is, are, was, were. We need to be loving people, listening to people, talking to people, hugging people, cleaning, sharing, giving, opening our hearts and our lives to other people, smiling, laughing, singing, praising. All of those are action words, action verbs. So I encourage you today, remember that faith is something as a conduit to all the power that God can do through us. But if we are sitting on our butt and our butts are going all tingly because we haven't done anything in a while, are you doing faith, or are you just expecting him to give you presents? Because that's not what I'm seeing in the Bible.